On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside episode 420 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Pillar up in the Blue Mountains. And for the first time in 597 days, it's an Ottawa Senators game day in the United States of America. The Senators playing their second and final meeting against the Dallas Stars, winning the first one 3-2, but they come into this on a 3-game losing streak after a wild 7-5 loss to the Washington Capitals on Monday that feels so long ago. So we'll have a full preview of the game, let you know who's starting for the Caps, what's different in the Senators lineup, including a debut for Dylan Gambrell. Lots to get into. Let's get to it. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. Today is Friday, October 29th, and Pilsy, this week's felt like a month.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Monday's game up against the Washington Capitals, especially when it was a roller coaster ride like that. We needed something right after to kind of bounce back and redeem the Senators after a game like that. But it is an Ottawa Senators game day, and hey, Ross, they're in America for the first time for a long time, which is crazy to think that usually that's such a normal occurrence, but this is something different for this team now.
Yeah, already playing the same opponent, though, as they have earlier this year. It's pretty rare. You know, you get out of the way the entire season series against a Western Conference team on the 7th game of the year. Yeah. But that familiarity, I don't know if it helps or hurts. Brady Tkachuk didn't play in that first appearance, and you know Dallas, a big, heavy team, guys like Jamie Benn and Denis Gurianov, who's really kind of come into his own this year. It's a good Stars team that I think's underperformed a little bit early, especially when you look at their back end with Heiskanen and Klingberg and Lindell, all these guys.
And your boy Suter.
Yeah, my boy Suter is there too. How's he doing? Do we know?
I couldn't tell you, but I'm sure his time on ice is right up there.
Oh yeah, always. That guy just steals time like nobody else in the league.
You mentioned how Brady wasn't there for their first meeting. Well, Ross, similar scenario for the Stars. No Klingberg in the first meeting and no Robertson. So having those two guys back in the lineup is pretty massive for that team as well.
Since they last played in Ottawa on October 17th, the Dallas Stars went on to win their next 2 games and then haven't won since. They had a 4-1 loss to Columbus Blue Jackets, and then they're coming off an OT loss to the Vegas Golden Knights. Pilsy, who scored the game winner in that one?
Dadonov getting the game winner. This time, actual, like, legit goal, not stealing a goal from his teammate there. But Dallas has been involved in a lot of extremely close games. Like, other than that 4-1 game you mentioned, the loss to Columbus, I think they lost to the Bruins 3-1. And then all their other games have been 1-goal games. So they've been right in it. Similar with the Sens, right? Like, you can say same storyline. Like, these last 3 losses, other than the Caps 7-5, but really that was a closer game than the score tells. The Sens are right in these games as well. So both these teams kind of hungry and saying, hey, we're better than our record shows, or at least we feel that way.
Of course. And great point. In the close games that the Dallas Stars have been in, 4 of them going to overtime, and they're 3-1. Obviously, their lone loss coming in the last game of the year. Unlike also, you mentioned the guys who weren't in the first game between Ottawa and Dallas. Same could be said for the guy in the crease at the visiting end, well, in the first game. But with Dallas, however, Ottawa is sticking with the same goalie, Philip Gustafsson. We're seeing now will play in his second game this season, second start. And it was also against the Dallas Stars. So he's 1-0 on the year for that. And when you look at the experience, or did he get the loss against Washington?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. He might have ended up with the loss there, which is really unfortunate. But hey, the Sens are on a 3-game losing streak. The last time they won a game was against Dallas and with Philly franchise starting. So it's got to be a W, right?
He did get the loss, though, because they tied up 4-4, remember? So, yeah. Hey, bounce back from that. However, we mentioned that it'll be Braden Holtby, not Anton Khudobin in goal. But just like Khudobin, dominant numbers against Ottawa, hey?
Yeah, and I mean, you got to look, too, Braden Holtby for most of his career was on, like, a President's Trophy winning Caps team. So in the regular season, they just cruise past the Senators, and he definitely was a big part of that too.
Yes, he certainly was. 16 games against Ottawa. He's 11-4-1 with a 199 goals against average and a 934 save percentage. Pillsy, what are you hoping to see from Philly franchise tonight?
Well, we need Philly franchise to go in there with some confidence, right? Like, he's a goalie similar to Matt Murray. You can tell their confidence very early. So I want to see, sure, like we talked about, he's coming off an L, but it's not entirely his fault. That was a wild kind of back and forth scoring game. So let's try to keep things a little tighter, at least to start off the game. And I think as long as his rebound control is good, it's honestly, Ross, for Philly franchise to have a good game, it's more on what can this D-core do. Like, I'm confident Philly franchise can give us a good start and put his team in a position to win. Can the D coverage keep up and not collapse and not hang him out to dry? That's where the real question is.
Well, let's get to the entirety of the game day lineup then, because other than the addition of Dylan Gambrell, it's going to be the same 18 skaters, and that includes the entirety of the back end. We discussed a little bit with Ian Mendez, and earlier in the week, if for no fault of their own, it was time to break up Shabbat and Artem Zub, that won't be the case. This the right move for DJ Smith?
I think it is for now. Like, sure, none of the other defense pairings have been working, but it's still early in the season, and hey, 1 out of 3 defense pairings working is at least something, right? Like, I would hate to break it up, and now all of them are not good at all. And I mean, that's sad straws to grasp at here, but that's what you got to do sometimes. And I think you mentioned it. This Stars team, like, they're a big, strong team, and up and down that lineup, they have guys that can score. So, like, you can't really be trying to minimize the deep pair that's doing the best here and split them up against a big team like that. I think maybe you could try to do that up against a lesser opponent and see how it fares out.
Yeah, well, we'll find out tonight. And the road in Ottawa's, haven't had a win on the road, I mean to say, losing in Toronto first game of the year. Other than that, it's been all home cooking for the Sens. And now they'll get a chance on a 3-game road trip that takes them through Dallas to Chicago and ultimately in Minnesota. Chicago, of course, going through a complete turnover, and that turnover continued. Pillsy, quickly, have you ever heard of a 7-0 team firing their coach while resigning, but Joel Quenneville out in Florida?
Yeah, and I mean, I think this is what was expected to happen, and I feel bad for the Florida Panthers players though. Like, they're like completely not really involved in the scenario, and they're rolling, like you said, 7-0, and this happens to them. It's something they're going to have to deal with, but I think it's the right move at the end of the day.
It certainly is. And the latest news in the Chicago Blackhawks scandal from 2010, stemming from sexual assault, is that Kevin Cheveldayoff apparently wasn't in enough of a senior position, so he's off the hook. I don't know if I agree with that by any stretch, but that's the way it goes in that story. Of course, Rick Westhead, we'd like to point everyone in his direction. He's been all over that since day one. Katie Strang as well with The Athletic. But it's a Senators game day tonight, 8:30 Eastern time, as they're in the Central Time Zone. Nice 7:30 start for me. And we're going to get to Pillsy's parlay of the day. We'll see if he can take us into the weekend on a high note. And if you want to join him, or at this point, especially if you've been listening to Locked On Senators, you might want to fade Pillsy going in to his weekend picks. I've got a Levy lock coming up too, which I'm 0 for 0, which is a better percentage than Pillsy's got in his gambling. And if you want to fade him, which I mentioned you might want to do at this point, go to betonline.ag and get that 50% welcome bonus. And that fade can be courtesy of Locked On Senators. Because you're a listener, you're entitled to that 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. You just go to betonline.ag and use our promo code Locked On. Pillsy, where are you directing the fine people this afternoon?
Well, I'm going to try to change things up here. I'm going to try to have a parlay where I can't lose. I'm happy either way. So here's what I got for today. And I'm trying some three bet parlays here because we're so far down the hole, we need a big one to catch up. Like, what's the point of betting 2 favorites and winning $5 to barely climb out of the hole here? So here's what I'm looking at, Ross. The Arizona Coyotes are terrible, and they're coming off a loss. So I think Washington Capitals, they're going to get that puck line. So that's just the easy one, minus 125. Dallas Stars, I'm betting on their money line because look, if the Sens prove them wrong and win, I'm a happy guy. If the Stars actually pull out this win, then at least it helps out my parlay. So either way, I'm happy. That's what I'm working towards. And then goals, I love seeing goals. All I want to see is some entertaining stuff tonight. And I feel like when teams bring out their alternate jersey, it's just a scoring fest. You know, it's a show more than anything. So the over at 5.5, minus 106. Washington Capitals puck line. Dallas Stars money line. The over in the Stars Sens game at 5.5. Put those three in a parlay. Bet $10. You're going to win $43.89. This is the Can't Be Sad parlay. It's Pillsy's parlay of the day.
The Can't Be Sad parlay exclusively at betonline.ag. So go there, use promo code Locked On, and you'll get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It's BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, Pillsy. It's a Senators game day, and I've got a Levy lock. And guess what it is, Pills? Guess what it is?
Stützle scoring.
Stützle scoring a goal. That's one of my two, actually. Plus 300 at betonline.ag. You can also get Drake Batherson for 3+ points.
Again?
Do it in back-to-back games.
Wow.
Can he? It's 11.25.
Back.
Pillsy, at the start of last year, that was plus 2,800 to get 3+ points, and now it's plus 11.25. The world is taking notice of Drake Batherson. Drake will be in his usual spot tonight alongside Josh Norris and Brady Tkachuk. We'll pull up the lineup courtesy TSN 1200. Everything else stays the same until the fourth line. It's Paul Stützle and Connor Brown, Tierney, Formanton, and Ennis. But now that Dylan Gambrell makes his Senators debut, Logan Shaw will shift back to his more natural right wing position. Zach Sanford finishes off that line. We already talked about the D-core, Pillsy. Are you expecting to see Gambrell on special teams here?
Maybe he kills penalties. From what we know, he's more of a defensive guy. But Ross, this is a bit of a head scratcher for me because maybe they won't line up like this, but if Logan Shaw is in the lineup, he better be taking draws. Like, he's been their best faceoff guy all season long. And no offense to him, but playing 9 minutes a night, he doesn't really have like a particular skill set other than that. If you're going to have him in, have him doing that. So we'll see. Maybe Shaw takes the draws and shifts to the wing as play goes on. But that's one thing that really popped out to me is Shaw has been excellent in the faceoff dot. So why switch that?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up right now, but he's by far the Sens' best faceoff guy. He's fifth on the team. He's taken 34 of them, and he's at 67.7%. The next best guy is Josh Norris at 50.4.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a situation where he's got to take these face-offs. And I don't think he'll be on the PK anymore, but we'll see. And I don't think it's going to be long. Maybe as soon as Monday that Austin Watson comes back in the lineup. So how's that for adding a little extra fire on Logan Shaw? Because we know Austin Watson's got that fourth line right wing spot on lock.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for Austin Watson to come back. And I think this game is more of a precaution. I think he might have been ready to go, but they're just like, let's give you a little more time here. Because it was his ankle, right? That was the issue.
Yeah.
And that's been an issue before. So no sense rushing it. I think they're going to give it this little bit of extra time. And he's going to be on that fourth line for the next game. And that's going to be great. Can't wait to have him back.
It's going to be a huge boost. And we'll see how that shakes up the lineup. We'll get into our Locked On player to watch for as well. But first, let's get your lookout player. You've seen the Dallas Stars already once through. Who are you looking out tonight on the Stars?
Well, it's ironic that you say look out. We've already seen them. So who am I watching? I'm going to be watching a guy who wasn't there, and that's Jason Robertson. This guy, he was one of the finalists for the Calder Trophy last year. He had a great rookie season. He's playing on the top line in Dallas. He's going to get good power play time. So we didn't get to see him at all last season. The Stars obviously didn't come to Canada. So I'm excited to see what this guy's got, and I'm going to be keeping my eye on him.
I'm going to go with Tyler Seguin because he's coming off a full season injury last year. It's been a slower start. Only 2 goals, -4.
He's down on the third line.
Yeah, so he's hit 30 now. You know, that's kind of a tough move when you're looking at the evolution of a player to continue producing at the same level that you have been early in his career, when this is a guy who's known as a point-per-game player going back to his days at the Boston Bruins. And this guy, he's just too good of a player, I think, to be held down. And we saw the impact that he's had, especially when Dallas made their run to the Cup final. Like, he wasn't even scoring at that point, but he was still
And he
finding
was
other
injured
ways.
at that point, I think, too. Like,
Yeah. Well, he's played 26 games, but only had 2 goals.
yeah.
13 points, but 2 goals in 26 games. It just shows kind of the evolution of what was just a totally offensive-minded player. That's what he brought. And now, kind of like Jason Spezza to an extent, obviously a few years further along in the process, but Sagan's kind of figured out that he's got to evolutionize himself and how he wants to stay as a National Hockey League player. So I'm going to be curious to see if he still has that explosiveness that he once did, or if he's, going to settle into a third line role at this point in his career. But that's what I'm looking out for. And I'm going to stick in the middle of the ice when it comes to my locked on player. And it's Josh Norris. I think that he's been knocking at the door, a couple great plays. He's got, he's obviously helping out in the faceoff circle, but Pilsy, I think that tonight's the night we could see Brady break out and Josh will be right along with him.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome if those two could break out. I think Brady's been all right so far, but it's going to take time for him to get up to game speed. He's a whole training camp preseason and a couple regular season games behind everyone, so I think it'll come eventually. I think Stützle is a guy too that, like, the dam has got to be ready to burst soon here. Like, he's getting so close. He's getting frustrated. He's doing everything he can. So I think that's going to happen soon here. My locked on player is going to be Dylan Gambrell, new player. He slots in the fourth line. Everyone says he's a defensive minded guy, but I really think like he's one of those guys that on a fourth line, like if he's in an open spot with time and space with the puck, you could see him really make the most of it. Like the offense was there. So if he has the time and space, I think definitely we could see him get into good opportunities. And he's going to be playing with Zach Sanford. Somebody needs to get Sanford going. So if it can be Dylan Gambrell, that'd be great.
I like that. I like that a lot. So when it comes to Josh Norris, I was trying to pull this up. I was a little late, but in the last 3 games, he's averaged 20 and a half minutes. Like, this is a guy who's still only 22 years old, I should say. And to be scratching the surface the way he is, goals in back-to-back games, he's over 60% in the faceoff circle in his last 3 outings. Yep. Let's see this guy really establish himself in a top line position, going up against like this Dallas Stars team. We mentioned they're big everywhere, but they're especially big in the middle of the ice. When you look at guys like Rupe Hintz and Jamie Benn, and then of course third line center Tyler Seguin, Radek Faksa. Are we going to see any payback on Faksa? That was it a cross check that came down on Pinto's back? To Timmy's
yes. wrist, remember? But
it was Jamie Benn that had the cross check off the draw on Pinner.
Yeah, I don't think we see revenge on Faksa. He's been fined. I don't think it was on purpose. Like, sure, you still need to be, you're responsible for your stick, and that can't be happening, especially to a young star who's already injured that hand. So he's been fined. I think that's settled. Jamie Benn, maybe there's going to be an issue there. And Ross, big centermen tend to do really well in the faceoff dot. The Dallas Stars are one of the best faceoff teams in the entire league at 55% in the dot. So no matter who you're going up against in that lineup in faceoffs, you got a tough battle.
No question. Really good point there as well. I'm just pulling up since Saturday. Guess what? I've got a fun stat for you.
Ooh.
And it's only a 2-game sample size, right? Okay. But that being said, in the last 2 games, the Senators have the best faceoff percentage in the league.
Oh my God.
In the last week. How's that for a sample size? Dallas, 3rd. So have the Senators figured it out, or are we absolutely even if you go back to 3 games ago, still
there
first.
We go.
All right.
Stretch that sample size.
We're stretching. I'm not going to go any further, or else it will backfire in a hurry. I was getting tired there, moving back and back and back, trying to really put a stamp on how the Senators have figured out how to snap them back. So I need to power up, Pilsy. Where would I go if I need a protein bar to get some extra energy?
Well, Ross, you're going to need some more strength too if you're even thinking about beating those big centermen in the faceoff dots. So where I will lead you and where I would lead the Ottawa Senators centermen is built.com. You need your protein, guys. And if you're trying to get some protein in you, why not do it in an enjoyable, tasty way? And the way you can do that is with Built Bar protein bars. You can head to built.com and check out all their amazing flavors. Chocolate lovers, this is the protein bar for you. Every single protein bar is covered in 100% chocolate. you're going to think this protein bar is a candy bar because they taste like candy bars. There's so many good flavors to choose from. And another new flavor, Ross. Like, this must be, people must think I'm just making stuff up here, but another new flavor. And this is the best part, Ross. You want to hear what this flavor is? I can't tell you. It's a mystery flavor. They've got a mystery flavor floating about here. So if you guys have tried all the Built Bars and you're like, I know all these flavors, I love all these flavors, well, why not go to Built.com, get a box of mystery flavors, and see if you're a sommelier of protein bars and you can pick out what flavor this mystery flavor is. And to sweeten that, let's give you a deal since you're a loyal listener of the Locked On Senators podcast. Go to Built.com. Enter promo code LOCKED15 and you're going to get 15% off your next order. That's Built.com, promo code LOCKED15. Tweet us if you get the mystery bar and tweet us what flavor you think it is. I'm going to be doing that challenge as well. So head to Built.com today. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
All right, Pilsy. So we're getting closer to puck drop. Hey, tonight there's 2 games in the National Hockey League where it's a winless team going up a team without a regulation loss. That's got to be pretty rare this deep into the year.
Ooh, the Arizona game is one, right? What's the other one?
The Arizona Coyotes, who are 0-6-1, are playing the 4-0-3 Washington Capitals. And the other game is the Chicago Blackhawks, who are 0-5-2, playing the Carolina Hurricanes, who are 6-0.
Yeah, I thought about getting the Carolina game in my parlay as well, but I want to focus on the can't be sad aspect and get the Sens game in there.
Oh my God. The other undefeated team. So we've got 3 unbeaten teams. And I guess there's an asterisk here if we're counting the Capitals, who have 3 overtime losses. It's not like they've been flying along just like the Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes, again, playing Chicago tonight. But which one of those unwin without a win teams do you think have the best chance at winning tonight?
It pains me to say it, but it's got to be the Blackhawks. Like, the Coyotes team is just brutal, and half their team is made up of picking up contracts that other teams were desperately trying to ship off. Like, half their roster is Vancouver Canucks players that got too big of contracts that are now just playing in Arizona. Their goaltending is a tough situation down there. So yeah, I want to cheer for the Coyotes. I love the Kachina jerseys that they've fully kind of leaned into that, but I don't think it's going to happen, Ross.
No, it's going to be an absolute terrible year if you're a Coyotes fan, but you're just
Shane Wright's coming around the corner.
There you go. Although we've seen how the lottery balls can change everything in a hurry.
And even the Coyotes could probably ruin Shane Wright. Like, that's what they do. Get high draft picks, ruin them, and trade them off.
Oh, no. That's tough times down there in the desert. So I downloaded NHL 22 yesterday. It's brutal, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. Starting a franchise mode, we tweeted this out at Send Central. What's the first move you do when you start in with the Ottawa Senators?
There's a couple of these responses, and it's the correct one. You make Brady captain, like that.
Easy.
That's the first move you do. And then you start looking at some of the contracts that can be moved around. Not going to kick a guy when it's his birthday, but usually I try to ship out Nikita Zaitsev's contract pretty quick there too. Happy birthday, Nikita.
Oh my God, that's tough. I went out and grabbed Joey Dax right away off of Seattle.
Nice.
Yeah, traded him for Forsberg. I think that's a nice, easy 1-for-1 deal. And then I went out and grabbed Claude Giroux.
Nice. Yep.
So nothing wrong with that. And then we're getting lots of answers. How about this one? Bring Carlson home.
With that contract?
Trade for Bowen Byram. I don't know how I feel about that. That's just kind of twisting the knife, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of a good idea because in Chell, there's no Jake Sanderson. So Bowen Byram is good Jake Sanderson kind of insurance.
But I know you're the kind of guy that likes going in straight away how it is.
Oh, okay, I thought you were going to twist that on me and say I always create.
No. But how do you feel? We're getting a lot of people right again saying before they jump in, they go in and create Tyler Boucher, Tyler Clevin, and Jake Sanderson.
Yeah, love that.
You're all for that?
Yeah, I'm definitely all for that. But I mean, within reason. Like, I mean, if you got 99 overalls all over the board there,
No,
maybe I don't know
just in
about that.
aggressiveness for Tyler Boucher.
Yeah, no kidding. And undisciplined just all the way down.
Yeah, speaking of the NCAA Sens prospects, you see Jake Sanderson, Tyler Clevin, the Nodak Sens, they're in Nashville tonight. That'll be a fun
That's
atmosphere
awesome.
for them.
Yeah, no kidding. That's definitely a good road trip for the boys.
No doubt. Get the weekend also. The Belleville Senators got 2 more games this weekend up against the Marlies. What are you hoping to see? And we've already talked about Eric Bransham. Do not say his name. And we'll check back in with Brandy on Monday. But beyond that, what would qualify to you as a successful weekend for Belleville?
Well, this is an interesting game because both these teams are at the bottom of their division. Things not really going right for them. The Leafs' last game was a 5-0 loss to Laval. One of their 2 wins, I think, came in a shootout. So it's not like they've been playing great, but they do have a lot of talent on that team. Like, you look at Robertson, Hosang, Googlev, or is it Gogolev, the Russian player who was on the Guelph Storm. He was a guy we profiled and we're looking at for the Sens draft as well. And like, this team definitely, Joey Anderson, that's another guy. This team definitely can score, but if you're the Ottawa Senators, as we saw in their last game, they can score too. So if it's going to be a run and gun type of game, I don't mind that, especially now that JBD, I feel like, is starting to heat up. That's going to help that Belleville T-Core out big time.
No question. And I'm excited to see how that confidence carries over for Bernard Docker, who had 2 goals, for Igor, who had 2 goals and 2 assists.
Mm-hmm.
And lucky for them, because I know everyone was very high on Nick Robertson in Toronto the last few years, untouchable and all that. He's got 2 points in 2 games, but he's going to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks. He's out with I think it's a leg injury. Yeah, so he's out for the next little while.
Okay.
That being said, the Marlies always have a solid AHL team, but the Belleville Senators have played them well over the years. How many high-scoring games did we go to in Belleville?
So many, like 6-5 games. Yeah, I mean, the one that sticks out is Mike Condon's last game in the organization.
Oh,
a 7-6 win, 6 goals against in the mine seas for Condon, and he gets the W.
So when I'm thinking back to that game. That was absolutely wild. I think there were a couple hat tricks in that one. I feel like Rudy had a few. And
there was at least one hat trick. I know that. Yeah.
Oh, my God. I need to go look that up. What do you think the better trivia question is, or who do you think people would less likely think played in Belleville between Mike Condon or Andrew Hammond, who I believe played like 2 games down there?
Yeah, true. The Hamburglar did have a little time there. Yeah, I think that's probably more surprising.
Oh, my God. Remember when their farm team was in Binghamton? It's just
and they
so
have the
unnatural.
Worst logo in the league. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm so glad they moved to Belleville. I mean, it gave us a chance to work for the team, which was awesome, but it just makes so much more sense all around the board.
Yes.
Especially for a team that does, like, didn't Dorian break the transaction record a couple seasons ago? Like, especially a team that does that much calling up and down, like, to have to deal with the border on top of that is just a mess.
Yeah, those en routes between Belleville and Ottawa getting plenty of usage from Senators management and players shuttling back and forth. And, well, the team right now, they're on the road, which is just weird to say, in the United States for the first time since March 11th, 2020. If you're a newer listener to Locked On Senators, we had a great interview. When was it? Like last November? We'd have to do the math, but 250 days after the last Senators game. It was during the COVID break with Jamie McLennan, Noodles, who called that game in Los Angeles, and just the eerie vibe around it. I thought that was one of our better interviews.
Yeah, it was a good one for sure. Yeah, especially to get kind of a like firsthand experience of what that was like, because that was a day, I think, especially sports fans, because that's when kind of the sports world shut down, that every sports fan will remember for the rest of their lives.
Certainly. But now things are as close to normal as they've been in a long time, and the Senators will look for their first road win of the 2021-22 season when they play the Dallas Stars tonight. Pilsy, what's your key to an Ottawa Senators victory?
My key to an Ottawa Senators victory is going to be, you really have to kind of not let the size of the Dallas Stars intimidate you, because this is a team that they play a tough West Coast hockey style game. Like, I don't know if it's so much true anymore, Ross, but remember like 5-10 years ago, like it was just the classic, like Eastern teams going west is like better prepared to be like physical. Like the West Coast teams just play a tougher brand of hockey. And I feel like the Dallas Stars really kind of define that and really go with that. Like, I mean, they signed, oh man, I always ruin his name. Hakanpää.
Yeah.
Yanni Hakanpää. This
Physical,
guy's
He's
the
like
real deal. He led the league in hits last season, I think. He gets a lot of hits this season. He blocks shots. And then you look at guys like Faxa, similar deal, like big guy that's not afraid to get dirty in there. And like the size on the back end is huge. The Senators, they just need to make sure they're not backing down from all the kind of intimidation. Guys like Jamie Benn, like he knows he can get away with a couple cross checks because he's kind of got that respect around the league. So you can't let that kind of thing get to you and take undisciplined retaliation penalties. So that's going to be my main thing. Don't let the size intimidate you.
You already discussed as well how the Dallas Stars are third in the National Hockey League in face-off percentage. So try to win the possession battle and don't take penalties against a team that can fire offensively. So if they stay out of the box and be prepared to play in a close game. We already talked about how they've gone overtime 4 times. 5 out of 7 of their games have been 1-goal games. So be prepared for that. And the only game that didn't go into overtime that was a 1-goal game for them, the Senators won. So I think that the video they already have on this opponent can only help them going forward. So we're going to be watching the game tonight at Sen Central on Twitter if you want to follow along for stats, news, analysis. We've also been breaking down the Senators all week. That's why it's a little bit shorter of an episode today. So you can go back and listen to our interview with Ian Mendez. Earlier in the week, we profiled Dylan Gambrell, who makes his Senators debut tonight. It's Pilsy's Locked On Player. So we appreciate you staying locked on with us and making us your first listen of the game. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel as well as we inch closer to our goal of 1,000. But for today, we say goodbye. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down. A few special guests coming down the pipe. Stay locked on Senators. For Brandon Pillar, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team